From trash talk to arts honors, these topics on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Monday, March 11th, 2013. I'm Sarah Colvin. Town Council's gearing up to talk about the future of solid waste disposal in Barnstable. Thursday night, Assistant Town Manager Mark Ells gave a brief presentation talking about a number of solid waste topics, including details surrounding the Covanta CMAS contract.
One of the things we need to do is commence discussions with Covanta regarding a long-term transportation contract through the Yarmouth Transfer Station. What's occurred there is the town of Yarmouth went out to RFP. Tom Lynch and I both participated on the board of managers of the transfer station with the town administrator and his staff to review the RFPs, to continue to run that transfer station and then take the waste by rail to the Covanta facility. Covanta came in the most preferred vendor under that review process, and Yarmouth is in the process of a negotiation with them right now for the operation of the transfer station and the transport of the material to the Covanta facility. So Barnstable needs to move forward with a discussion with Covanta relevant to its transportation long-term from that facility to Covanta. Because really Yarmouth's contract is for the operation and then Yarmouth's transport from that facility to Covanta. So that's something we need to move forward with. We need to move forward with it, we believe, now. We have, Yarmouth has shared their contractual information with us, so certainly that becomes certainly a draft to consider and move forward with in discussions with Covanta. And we have contacted Covanta, and Covanta has said, certainly we'll sit down with you and have those discussions.
Ells also talked about the importance of moving forward with a long-term disposal contract as well as the transportation contract.
We can talk with Covanta in March and then begin those discussions in April through June, so that hopefully by the end of this fiscal year, we have a pretty good idea what we're going to do with the trash that the municipal solid waste that we are taking from our transfer station in Marston Mills over to the Barnstable Yarmouth transfer station in Yarmouth. And then we need to obviously take what those long-term costs would be, include them in our budget next year, so that when we go to, when we submit our budgets for review for FY15, we're knowing of what the costs will be under both of those contracts. And as we bring forward our proposed user fees in the fall of 2014, we're able to account for those added costs that will occur at the beginning of 15 or that next calendar year. So it seems as though it's a long way away, but it isn't for us, because our cycles typically start planning about 18 months before something from a budgetary standpoint needs to occur.
Ells provided the timeline relevant to the town's recycling program.
Would be to have another workshop to review the draft recycling ordinance that I had just discussed earlier when I was questioning the commercial haulers in the community, if we choose to do that. I also thought that we should either, as a second part of that workshop or as a separate workshop, discuss the development of this questionnaire to go out to our residents about modifying our recycling program. We wanted to gather that information. We have an estimated cost for what it would take to do it, but I do think that we need to do something that is that retrieves the data that you all need to make the decisions that you are trying to make relative to a programmatic change. I think then you'll have to have a follow-up of the results of that survey and discuss the potential programmatic changes. And then if we're going to get this into a budget cycle, the earliest budget cycle that I would see this occurring would be in the spring of 2014 for implementation of any programmatic changes commencing in July of 2014. So that would be a year from this coming July. So that would be, if everything fell into place and we started this now and we continued this process, there would be a potential to make those modifications. If we let these timelines slide, then it may lapse another fiscal year potentially, depending on how we would like to implement something like this.
Town Council will take up the issue of solid waste this year. Several changes under discussion, including potential pay-as-you-throw or curbside pickup. The arts are celebrated in Boston and in Barnstable. In February, Barnstable was presented with the Commonwealth Award for Creative Community. Town Manager Tom Lynch spoke about the award at Thursday's Town Council meeting, and this morning reiterated that conversation, talking about the planning process and the future goals of the arts community.
Planning, and you know, we've been planning over the last 10 years to try to incorporate arts and the arts community more into our economic base down in Hyannis and throughout our villages. And so the growth management department, really starting back when Ruth Wire was there, and some folks who worked on that, such as John Clement, Paul Neswicki, Patty Daly, and an awful lot of folks who contributed to making this award possible. And in addition to planning, it certainly, you know, takes partnerships, which in our case, you know, involves the economic partnerships we have with the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce. Wendy Northcross was there, the Hyannis Area Chamber, and the Business Improvement District, and also our arts partners, the Arts Foundation, Kevin Howard, Katuitt Center for the Arts, and also the Cape Cod Art Association. So it was really an event that made one
Lynch presented a short video highlighting the arts effort in Barnstable. We bring that to you now.
Of the work that's actually been done here, and the way that the town has really stepped up. The town of Barnstable, the people who work in the various departments there have really stepped behind this program.
I believe it is better to set sail than to lie still in the harbor. Right, are we ready? People count to 3. 1, 2, 3.
Special lighting that we have is so precious to us, and it has inspired for generations and generations the greatest artists in the United States, and I dare say in the world, that have come to that environment and been so inspired by it that they have created art that we have all enjoyed around the world. The town of Barnstable has the privilege of being the first town on Cape Cod, but hopefully the first of many towns on Cape Cod, to have been given the distinct privilege of being one of the cultural districts in Massachusetts. And so it is my huge pleasure. On behalf of the town of Barnstable, I'd like all of the other visitors from Barnstable to come on over.
The Commonwealth Award, handed out by the Massachusetts Cultural Council every 2 years, was presented to Barnstable at a ceremony in Boston on February 19th. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.